When people say 1776, they often picture a few iconic moments: a declaration, a flag, a speech, a triumphant narrative. But leadership in 1776 didn't feel triumphant. It felt chaotic. It was supply lines, it was logistics, it was training, it was discipline, it was morale, it was communication delays. It was the daily reality of trying to hold together a mission that could fail apart just because you couldn't feed people, clothe people, pay people, or keep them from believing long enough to stay. That's the kind of leadership most people don't romanticize. But it's the kind of leadership most organizations need today. Because modern organizations don't collapse because their CEO didn't give a great speech. They collapse because execution breaks down. Here's part 2, the parallel to today's workforce. Let's bring this into today. In business, the mission dies the same way, not from one dramatic failure, but from 1,000 small breakdowns. Here's what that looks like in a company: unclear roles, inconsistent standards, no operating rhythm, no scorecard, no feedback loop, no repeatable business. And if you're leading right now, you've seen it. A project stalls and nobody knows who owns it. A customer escalates and everyone points fingers. A team misses a handoff and the margin bleeds out quietly. A great employee leaves and leadership says, "I didn't see it coming." That's not a motivation problem, that's a systems problem. Leadership lesson number 3 from 1776 is this: the unseen work is the work. The unseen work and what it actually means. When I say the unseen work, I mean the work that doesn't get applause, the work that isn't glamorous, the work that doesn't get posted on LinkedIn. It's the infrastructure of execution. And here are 5 components that determine whether a team endures under pressure. I call them the endurance stack. First, role clarity. If your team doesn't know who owns what, you don't have a team. You have a group of people performing activity for each other. Role clarity is not a job description. Role clarity is who is accountable for outcomes, who approves, who executes, who escalates. If that's not clear, your organization will default to chaos. Back in 1776, discipline mattered, training mattered, consistency mattered. In business, standards are the same thing. How do we quote? How do we deliver? How do we communicate? What does done mean? What does excellent mean? Because if you don't define standards, your team invents their own. And that's when you get inconsistency. That's what becomes quality problems, which become customer churn, which becomes internal blame. 3, operating rhythm. 1776 leadership required cadence. In business, you don't have execution, you have firefighting. Your operating rhythm is, how do we review priorities? How often do we review the scorecard? How often do we surface issues early? How often do we make decisions? This is where leaders either win or collapse. Because under stress, teams don't rise to the level of intention. They fall to the level of process. 4, scorecards. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it. In 1776, they measured supplies, readiness, troop count, morale. In business, your scorecard is your reality check. Not 40 metrics, not vanity metrics, a few numbers that tell you what's true. Revenue and margin, backlog health, on-time delivery, cash flows, customer satisfaction, employee retention, utilization, pipeline. Pick what matters, review it consistently, and force clarity. 5, feedback loops. This is the final piece and it's most ignored. No feedback loop means small problems become big ones. A team member struggles quietly. A customer starts drifting quietly away. A project gets off track quietly. Then suddenly, leadership is surprised. But the truth is, the signals were there. A feedback loop is how leaders stay connected to reality. And in today's workforce, Where middle management is thinner than ever, teams are more distributed and people are more isolated. Feedback loops are not optional, they are leadership. Part 4, the hard truth. Morale is a system too. Let's talk about morale. Back in 1776, morale wasn't nice to have. It was a strategic variable. Same today. But morale doesn't stay strong just because you tell people to be positive. Morale is a product of clarity, trust, consistency, progress, and meaning. If people don't know what winning looks like, morale drops. If people don't feel progress, morale drops. If people don't believe leadership is being honest, morale drops. So the leader's job isn't to motivate. The leader's job is to remove confusion. Because confusion is exhausting. Confusion creates anxiety. Confusion creates politics. Confusion creates churn. Clarity creates stamina. Part 5. Washington's leadership movement. December 31st, 1776. Now this brings us to one of the greatest leadership moments in American history. It's December 31st, 1776. Enlistments are expiring. The Army can legally walk away. The mission is fragile. Resources are scarce. Morale is uncertain. The outcome is not guaranteed. Washington gathers the troops. He offers a bonus and asks them to re-enlist. And at first, nobody moves. That's leadership. The moment right there is what modern leaders face when people are burned out, uncertain, and ready to leave. Then Washington makes a deeper appeal: identity, purpose, and meaning. He says, your country is at stake. Your families are at stake. Your homes are at stake. And if you stay a little longer, you'll be doing something you may never have the chance to do again. And then they step forward. Leadership lesson: compensation matters, but when the mission is fragile, the decisive factor is often purpose and belief. Washington didn't just offer money, he offered significance. Now bring that into today's workforce. If your best people don't see meaning, they won't stay. If your culture doesn't create belief, your retention will break. And if your operating system doesn't reduce chaos, your leaders will burn out first. Part 6, what 1776 teaches leaders right now. So what do we learn from 1776 that applies directly to leadership today? Leadership isn't proven when things are easy. Leadership is proven when the mission is under stress. You don't earn leadership when things are stable. You prove leadership when the outcome is not guaranteed. And the leaders who win in modern business today are not the loudest. They're the clearest. They set priorities. They build accountability. They reduce confusion. They install cadence. They keep momentum when morale dips. That's what leadership is. Not motivation, not inspiration. Direction under pressure. Part 7, practical application. The 30-day leadership reset. If you want to apply this immediately, here's a simple 30-day reset you can run on your organization. Week 1, clarify priorities. Pick the top 3 outcomes for the next 90 days, not 12, 3. Week 2, clarify ownership. For each outcome, assign a single accountable owner, one person, not a committee. Week 3, install rhythm. Weekly leadership meetings, same day, same time, same agenda. A scoreboard, priorities, issues, decisions, next actions. Week 4, build a feedback loop. One-on-ones, team retrospectives, customer pulse checks, and a clean escalation path for problems. This is the unseen work, and this is the work. If your organization is operating in 1776 directions, uncertainty, disruption, and pressure, then it's time for clarity, operating cadence, accountability, and an execution system that scales. If you want help building that system, send me a message, and I'll show you exactly where your bottlenecks are and what to fix first. Because strategy without execution is just hope. The workforce has changed. Leadership must change with it. And now, AI is accelerating all of this. Role clarity, accountability, reporting, attention, and speed. If you want to see how ready your organization is, I can run a simple AI readiness audit and show you exactly where to focus first. So AI creates value, not chaos. If you're interested, send a message AI readiness and I'll send you the next steps. 1776 is not a story about perfect decisions. It's a story about leadership under conditions where information is incomplete, resources are scarce, morale is fragile, and one mistake can lead to end everything. And the takeaway is this: you don't earn leadership when things are stable. You prove leadership when the outcome is not guaranteed. That's 1776. That's Washington, and that's the standard. The workforce has changed. Leadership must change with it. Thank you.